Greetings, fellow Americans. Welcome to Fireside Chat State of Our Nation. I am your host, Susanna Tanner, candidate for House of Representatives 2026 and President 2028. Before we get into the immigration reform I have for us, there is a final aspect of the AISA Act, the Tax Restructuring Act, that I'd like to discuss with you, that I'd like to present to you. In Section 308 of the AISA tax restructuring, there is an excessive wealth tax provision. The excessive wealth tax is on the gross income of any individual or corporate entity that makes $1 trillion a year or more in gross income. The NPRC rate, the National Progressive Revenue Contribution rate for the excessive wealth tax is 30%. That's 30% of $1 trillion. That's billions of dollars in revenue. It replaces the mandatory tax, the mandatory NPRC tax, and the SACAMT tax, which is the corporate tax obligation, as the excessive wealth tax satisfies the mandated federal tax contribution. Now, the excessive wealth tax has some priority allocations, and that's a big question because everybody's going to want to know where the money goes. So everything's explained in the lockbox system. The excessive wealth tax must first replenish the lockboxes to full capacity. That's including the buffer, the 25% buffer for each lockbox. It needs to be applied to the debt repayment next. That's the debt that we owe other countries, debt that is held by other countries. Once all of our debt is paid down, the amount distributed is a national wealth dividend, and it's distributed to all Americans with a Social Security number or a tax ID number. It's also non-taxable. There is also a non-avoidance mandate that any attempt to restructure, offshore, or artificially deflate gross income to avoid the threshold would be subject to 100% seizure of the attempted hidden asset and permanent bar from doing business in the United States. Tax evasion is unacceptable. It diminishes our economy, especially from incredibly wealthy individuals, excessively wealthy individuals, or corporations. Now, the reason that this dividend is non-taxable is because it is meant to stimulate the economy as a whole. It is meant to help our people support themselves, as well as our businesses and other entities that need financial assistance, emergency personnel, FEMA, all that kinds of stuff. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear in the tax restructuring proposal. I believe that the details are satisfactory for legislation. And with that, we are going to move on to immigration. Here is the proposed new system, the American Gateway, that is secure, humane, and rooted in the American tradition of service. It offers a clear, earned pathway for current residents and establishes a robust, merit-based system for future entry, ensuring that every person who joins our national family is a contributing member. There are 4 pillars to this American Gateway. Pillar 1 is securing the border and restoring order. Pillar 2, the secure migration corridor with international cooperation. Pillar 3 is the fast track to citizenship, or FTC. And Pillar 4 is the commitment to American civics. So, securing the border and restoring order. This is something that I think a lot of us have been very concerned about, knowing that there are so many undocumented immigrants. And in fact, there are currently an estimated 11 to 14 million undocumented individuals living or residing in the United States. So we are going to create a new status called Documented in Process. This requires an applicant already here to register within 30 days of the enactment of this act with the nearest immigration office. And it requires a mandatory home verification and a comprehensive criminal background check. There is zero separation policy. Children and parents cannot be separated due to being encountered at the border or in unauthorized areas or even at a checkpoint. Now let's talk about the secure migration corridor. This does, of course, require international cooperation. The idea is to create a safe migration path for those who wish to enter the United States or neighboring countries. It does involve embassies being used as intake and checkpoints for migrants. There would be security personnel in between cities with which, assuming that nations are agreeable and partner with us to create this corridor, would be a major joint venture between our militaries. The main goal is to prevent violence and to be able to provide aid when necessary. One of these is a humanitarian airdrop. This is going to occur from both the U.S. and the host country for that particular portion of the path. Its goal is to provide aid when necessary and prevent violence. Now, the airdrops would be utilized usually in an area where migrants are in so large a number that they would be blocking the normal spot for an airdrop, or the roadway itself where an airdrop might occur. So, well, let me rephrase that. So there are some areas that would be airdropped when there are so many migrants that it would block vehicle traffic. Let me make sure that that's corrected. That's what the airdrops are for. And to make sure that areas that are not accessible by vehicle would be able to receive different essentials, different aid along the way. Now, now on to the fast track to citizenship. I have spoken about this before. It is a 2-year service contract with specifications for unaccompanied minors, which I think a lot of us are really concerned about, because we should not have unaccompanied minors coming to us from other countries. I do understand why they might, but it's very dangerous. And not everyone has the ability to go on to a self-sufficient path. However, for unaccompanied minors, as well as it ensures that our economic security remains intact and migrants have a safe, effective path to enter the United States. Of course, all jobs within the Immigration and Border Security Reform are offered to Americans first, and they are the priority. This is to ensure that jobs are not overtaken by migrants, denying Americans job opportunities. Pillar 4 is the commitment to American civics. And this one is one of the most important aspects, because it educates migrants on our laws, our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and ensures they have a good understanding of what they're getting into before they enter the United States. It's meant to also determine how much they actually know before they even begin, before they are fully integrated into the FTC track. The American Gateway replaces chaos with order. By moving the starting point of migration to our embassies and securing the route with international cooperation, we protect human life, while ensuring the total security of our sovereign borders. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to talk about the specific aspects of these pillars and identify some important information in the American Integrity and Services Act, which is immigration and border security reform that I'm talking about right now. That is all I have for today. Thank you for your time, and may our path lead to peace and prosperity.